Welcome to a new wandering. Today I'm in the town of Gravesend in Kent, and I've came down to the pier, which is on the River Thames, to see something quite amazing, and that would be it. A beautiful boat there is something that I hope to get to explore, and I will be allowed to film. It is a reconstruction of Nao Santa María, Columbus's flagship. I only recently found out that it is docked here for a few days, so I did not want to miss this opportunity that I'm probably never gonna have again. And I can't wait to see it. Let me just pan around so you can see. I think it's low tide now. The Thames is a tidal river, so it goes up and down. But let's go and see this beauty. I have seen a few people going in, and quite a few of them on the boat. I do have a time slot, so I hope they're not gonna let it overcrowd. Okay, before I go down, I just want to have a quick look around and also stay in the shade for a bit, because as I was walking down through the high street it was really sunny, and today it's another hot day. It's gonna go up to 28, I think, and that's a lot for UK weather. Little info about when the pier pontoon was opened, and I came through there. And let's go down to the boat. Oh, I'm so excited! This is so cool. I love it when you think that there's things you're never gonna see, and then you get to. Okay, I'm just gonna try and include it in a frame. It would be wonderful to see it with the sails down, but I don't think that's gonna happen whilst I'm here. It sails away tomorrow evening, I think. It's a shame that, you know, the metal safety bits are obstructing the full view, but I still think we can see it. Okay, let me tell you quickly that this is a full-size replica of the Santa Maria, and it was built using traditional shipbuilding techniques based on historical documents and naval archaeology. Its aim is to give us an authentic glimpse into the 15th century seafaring life, and just look from the tall rigging, and when we go inside we'll see the cramped deck and all the rudimentary bits and bobs, and it's gonna tell us its story. Just want to see it a little bit more up close. Okay, let's go in. Sorry, I just can't help myself not to keep on stopping and staring at it before I get on it. Oh, this is so cool. I'm just trying to show the size of it. It is large, but it is not massive. Yet when you're standing next to it, you feel like a tiny little ant. It would be cool to be up there. go down there. Just an idea of for you to imagine how the cargo hold would have looked like. It's full of merchandise and stocked up with barrels of water and wine and everything else that they would have needed. The food was not a five-star gourmet thing. And the painting of it. Now we have a map of the route. I really want to tell you all about it, but it's a bit difficult because there's music and people. A bit of info about what's being used for it. 65 cubic meters of Morocco, 3 kilometers of rope. And I don't know if it shows, it's rather dark here. And that's how a Nao or Karak would have looked like. Well, it looks like. Here we have a dead eye. Okay, it's trying to tell you the stories of the crew, how life on board it was. But I'm going to tell you all about that when I get to a place when I can talk properly. Some of the navigation instruments. There's a wall of clocks and things of where they have stopped and recognition. Things like this one. Okay, I'm gonna go back up because it's very tight in here, just like I expected it to be, and there's more people. You can see all the different types of ropes that are used for rigging and stuff. But I'm trying to find a spot where I can stop and start telling you some important bits about the history of Santa Maria and Columbus's first trip to the New World. I just spotted that there are... Oh, there, what's going on? There are a couple of cannons displayed. One there, and another one just here next to me, which they would have needed for protecting themselves because piracy and other dangers were threats during that time. Okay, let me give you a little bit of historical context for all of this. In the late 15th century, Europe was in the age of exploration. Countries like Spain, Portugal and England were racing to find new trade routes to Asia. Christopher Columbus, who was an Italian navigator, managed to convince the Catholic kings of Spain, Ferdinand and Isabella, to found his daring plan, sailing west to reach the east. So he set sail from Palos de la Frontera in Spain on August 3rd, 1492 with 3 ships, La Niña, La Pinta and this one, the Santa Maria, which served as his flagship. Now the Santa Maria was a type of ship known as a Nao in Old Spanish, or a carrack, as I mentioned before, which was a larger, heavier vessel compared to the smaller caravels like the Niña and the Pinta. It's about 70 feet long and it weighed around 100 tons. And unlike the other 2 ships, which were faster and more agile, the Santa Maria was built for cargo and long distance travel, which made her ideal as the fleet's flagship. It had 3 masts, the main one, which is almost 25 meters from the waterline to its highest point, and then the mainsail mizzen and the bowsprit, It had square sails for speed and a high forecastle and sterncastle, which made her stable but also more vulnerable in shallow waters. And we'll find out later why this was a big problem for it. Now, after they set sail, in about a week they reached the Canary Islands and they stopped at La Gomera to repair La Pinta, which had rudder issues, and they also adjusted the rigging for all of them and restocked. And they spent almost a month here, departed later on the 6th of September, and they were welcomed and looked after by the ruler of the island at the time, who was a lady. Her name was Beatriz de la Bobadilla. She was quite something. She took over the ruling of the island from her husband who died and did a great job. You can read up on her. She was very unusual at that time in history. You would rarely find women doing the job she did. Now, when we were downstairs, you could see some of the bits that they tried to put together for us to imagine, you know, the things that they stocked up, but food was quite basic at the time, like salted meat, maybe some dried legumes, hardtack biscuits, wine and water, as I said. And they were also probably carrying some livestock like pigs and chicken, but the big problem is of not having refrigeration for weeks on end usually resulted in the rations getting spoiled, and water was scarce, and you know, as a lack of vitamin C that we know that it's so much needed in our diet, scurvy was very normal to happen. So it was not an easy life for the crew to go on these voyages. Just found a spot where we can have a peek inside of what would have been his cabin. I forgot to tell you that there were about 40 men on board, including the sailors and crew, with the young boys who were used to do all the dirty jobs. And he would have probably taken measurements, and one interesting thing I remember reading up on it, that he used to keep two journals, one with the accurate data and one slightly fudged, because his crew was freaking out that they have been sailing and sailing and they are not sighting land. So yeah, what better way there is than deceive your crew to keep them at ease. Now all this was happening because we were still in an era before compasses were accurate enough for open ocean sailing. Now navigators like Columbus used dead reckoning, estimating speed and direction, to chart their course. They used tools like the quadrant and the astrolabe that we saw below deck, and later the cross staff to estimate latitude by the stars. Just spotted one climbing down. Now imagine doing that when the waters are rough. Just also wanted to mention that at the time there was no accurate way of measuring the longitude, so they relied pretty much on experience and guesswork. And as I said, he used to record daily logs with estimated distances and likely the real ones. Okay, let me show you the rest of the cabin. So on the far end, it was the desk and beds that I showed you a few minutes ago. What's under the red whatever is where the bed is, then the chest, and then they were having a little bit of fun with somebody being for too long on sea. Oh goodness, I'm just getting to what my brain is frying. Okay, I'm gonna climb up there, but there's more and more people and it's much harder to film. Okay, let's see it from here as well. There's too many of us up here. I am closer to the crow's nest, but it's still really high up. And obviously I would love to get up there, but that's impossible. They are not allowing us to do that. Let's have a view as well around. It looks so peaceful and serene. A few little fluffy clouds, lots of blue sky. Okay, I can't help myself. One last shot from here, because I'm gonna go down as it's becoming unmanageable. With so many people around me. Now I wanted to continue on with the story of what was happening with the Santa Maria and its crew. Well, just imagine that as the days dragged on and the ocean stretched endlessly before them, the morale aboard and the fleet began to collapse. And the sailors were terrified. They had sailed further west than any Europeans before, to their knowledge, and there was no sign of land. So by early October, after over 2 months at sea, the crew became openly restless. Some of Columbus's own officers reportedly urged him to turn back, and tension built to the point where a near mutiny was on the verge of erupting. Columbus had been keeping 2 logs, as I mentioned it to you before, which one had the actual distances traveled and one with shorter estimates to reassure the crew that they hadn't gone as far as they really had. And this deception bought him some time, and when things got bad, he made a deal with the crew. If land wasn't spotted within 3 days, they would turn around. And guess what? Just hours before the deadline expired, in the early morning of October the 12th, 1492, land was finally sighted, an island in the Bahamas, which he named San Salvador. Now, he had no idea where he actually reached. He thought he reached an island of Asia. So, yeah, there was a lot more to unfold. And let's continue on with the story. Skip a few weeks ahead. And the most dramatic moments of Santa Maria's story happened on Christmas Eve the same year, when the fleet had reached the coast of what is now Haiti, and the crew of the Santa Maria was completely exhausted. That night, Columbus decided to have some proper rest, and he left the ship in the hands of an inexperienced helmsman, which was against maritime rules of the time, because normally it required a captain and a trained officer to always be on duty during nighttime sailing. So whilst Columbus slept, the helmsman also nodded off, and without anyone properly steering the ship, it drifted onto a reef, and the tide pushed her onto the shoals, and she ran aground. Now, despite all the efforts to lighten the load and pull her free, it was hopeless. The Santa Maria was wrecked. But what he's done was that rather than let the wood go to waste, Columbus ordered the ship to be dismantled. and its timbers were used to build La Navidad, the first European settlement in the Americas. And he left about 39 of his men here, whilst he returned to Spain on the smaller ship La Niña. Now, this event not only marked the end of the Santa Maria, but also led to the first short-lived European outpost in the New World. And I think it is a perfect example of how one bad decision, even on such a historic voyage, could lead to disaster. Right, I am starting the descent and we'll need to exit soon. One more quick look at the crow's nest. Okay, we get to see here a little bit more of how the storage space would have looked like. I would love to sail on something like this, but in modern conditions, with proper water and sanitation and the whole thing, refrigeration and all the other things that we are used to. Wow, this has been a really cool experience. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Spice box, vanilla, cloves, nutmeg. You can see the rudder, or however you call it, which we saw the top part above. They still sail exactly like they did over 500 years ago. Oh goodness. Next, we're going to look at the table. They use this. You can see some of the dadas and rigging bits. And here's the information about this boat. More of the tools. And then further cannons on each end here. And across there. It just got covered. It's just really hard to film when there's so many visitors. Right, I'll be getting off the boat. I wish I could stay here much longer and get all the people to get off. But that's not possible. So I need to go. Quickly, one more view from here before I step off. And I'm off. Oh, but I am grateful I had this opportunity. Beautiful you are. Okay, I'm still hanging around because I want to soak in every minute of it that I can. I'm absolutely fascinated. It's a shame we can't see it with the sails up, but that's not possible at this time. I got to speak to one of the crew when I was on board, and I asked, you know, of where they are from. Obviously the majority are from Spain, but they have someone from France and other countries, and they also have volunteers who are with them just for short times. And again, those vary, come from different countries. Tomorrow is moving on to Southend-on-Sea, then Ramsgate, then they are off to France, and then to Holland, I believe. So it will be on the move throughout the summer. Now, I would like to end mentioning something about Columbus's legacy. As we all know, this voyage changed the course of the world history, and it kind of initiated centuries of exploration, colonization, and cultural exchange. But it also marked the beginning of devastating impacts on the indigenous peoples of the Americas. And today we can reflect on this history with more nuance, if you will, recognizing both the boldness of exploration and the cost of conquest. Now, I hope I managed to capture some of the important bits, both through the video and some of the information I tried to give you. And thanks for joining me on this journey through time aboard the Nao Santa María. And whether you're a fan of maritime history, ship design, or global exploration, this ship is a wonderful reminder of how one voyage can reshape the whole world. Now, you know what to do. If you like the video, please click that button, leave me a comment, and subscribe for more wandering adventures to come. Have a lovely day, everyone. Bye!